Well, hello, hyperspace. My name is Davontos, and it's time to get hyped because this is going to be one of the most useful videos you're ever going to see, especially if you play Overwatch. Now, you're going to see I'm playing here with an AI. It's just I have to have an AI before I get kicked for inactivity. This is a skirmish game. So we're actually going to look at different flank routes and different ways to approach choke points, especially these payload maps. Now, most of these is just for when you're escorting the payload, but let's get the first one covered in King's Row. Now, this is one of the useful choke points here. The enemies are holding it down by the bookstore. Let me get rid of this Lucio really quick. It's bothering me. I have them on easy, but whatever. Okay, so you capture your point right there, and the enemies are holding it down on the bookstore. Usually, players just stay on the street and fight in front of the bookstore. However, there's a really useful flank route that's right there, which is by your spawn. Now, you come out the spawn, you just stay in the back alley, continue walking forward, probably unseen. Leave me alone, Lucio. Probably unseen. Keep following the back. This is the only spot where you gotta be careful because enemies might see you, and then from here, that's it. You're behind enemy lines and you can freely do whatever you want, and not a lot of people know about this. Usually when I see the choke points that's holding out right in front of this bookstore, I just see enemies holding it down on the front door of this bookstore and teammates just lining up, and we can never move the payload. Now that building up there is also really useful. Let's say for example you get this turn right here by the train station and the payload is resting right over here. The enemies are holding it down, you can't advance. Well, here's actually a really useful spot to send maybe your nuke or maybe your Justice Rains from above. Pharah and D.Va are more preferred. You can actually fly over this building and drop your nuke right there. It lands in the perfect position, just a little short of the train station, but the blast radius is still enough to take out all of the enemies and get you quite a few kills to clear the path and escort this payload. So let's actually move on to the other map, which is going to be ICanWight. Now, ICanWight is a really interesting map. There are a lot of flank routes in this map, but I don't really see a lot of people using them. Now, most of these flank routes can only be accessed with Pharah, D.Va, Winston, Sombra, Junkrat, just people who have a really high jump, I guess you can say. If you can jump really high or get a really good height advantage, you can most probably take these flank routes. Now we're just going to be using D.Va, and if D.Va can do it, Pharah can do it. I'm not too sure if Junkrat can do these, and I think Sombra can only do one, but let's cover D.Va and Pharah for now. So we're going to hop right into ICanWight and see the kind of flank routes we can pull off. Here we are in ICanWight. So, the first problem in ICanWight is the very first choke point that you get right after you turn the corner from spawn. So, most of the time you turn the corner here. Don't mind this Ana, it's still that AI bot. I just gotta keep her in here so I don't get kicked. Let me take her out really quick. Okay, so you will come over here, and this bridge is where the first choke point is always held. Enemies got it down, you can't get over, you can't get under. Even if you do happen to get on top of the bridge, as I did with D.Va, most of the time you're going to wind up jump from all that firepower they have with their defenses. Same thing if you come to this computer room from the side and jump there from the side, you're going to get taken out. There are multiple ways to approach the situation, like this here, which still leads to the bridge. Or you can come up the staircase and take this side building, which still leads to the bridge. Or you can come up here and try to poke at them from the top, but it's not really that effective. There's another way you can actually get around this little bridge choke point, and it's actually really obvious. Give me 1 second, I'll just take her out. Okay, so come back to the side of the building, and there's your bridge, your first choke point. You can actually just come over here. Check this out. Nobody would actually expect it. And yeah, you'll still be right next to the bridge and they can take you out, but you got that staircase to my left, and you can just fly up the staircase and pull off a successful flank. However, if that's not really working for you, let's say Symmetra got a whole bunch of her pods in that little room and you can't flank, D.Va and Pharah can actually pull off this jump. Right there, jump, fly, and slide down. Check that out! The enemies are going to be right over there. You can either engage them or distract them or whatever you want to do, or if you just want to take a more stealthy approach, you can just come down, stay up to the side area of the map where nobody sees you, grab your health pack if you need to, and there's the payload. And you can even, capture the payload, get them off the choke, allowing your team to move forward. Now, let's say, for example, I don't know, that building is secured. For some reason, they wanted to secure that building, and they secured that side room next to the bridge, and you're all out of options. There's no way to get past this choke point. Or is there? So there's your spawn. Only D.Va and Pharah can pull this off. And it's going to take a little trial and error, especially if you have D.Va. Pharah can do this with ease. But you can actually get around the choke point and attack them from behind if you stand right there. what you want to do with Diva, Farah can just fly over, but with Diva, you gotta look up and stay against the wall. You begin to fly, stay close to the wall, and I kind of miss it. Right there. I was close, but I managed to catch myself on the rocks, don't ask me how, and I got my jetpack back and, well, came back on land, allowing me to pull off a successful flank. And you can even come back if you want to. You could just stand at the very edge, hug the wall, fly around, and get back to where you originally started. And it's a really, really powerful flank. There's obviously no way they can, counter this. Symmetra can't place her pods here. Torbjorn can place his turret, but Torb's turret on its own, not really much of a threat. And you're going to see I'm going to play with it a couple times, trial and error. I'm still kind of practicing with it. As I said, Farah can just do this with ease, Sombra cannot make it, Junkrat cannot make it, and Winston cannot make it. Farah and Diva are the only two who can pull this off. And I'm not too sure if Genji can do it. I highly, highly doubt it. I kind of messed up here. I highly doubt Genji can do it, but we're going to continue messing around with this and see just the best approach to take that right side of the map flank. I just kind of cut the next clip here. Where's Ana? Ana's shooting. Okay, so we're going to actually come here. I discovered in this video here, it's just like different videos combined into one. In this video here, the best way to approach this side flanking route with Diva is to fly above the building and then let, just gently slide down the side of the building. You see right here. And then just slide down. And there we are! Perfect landing! Now, there's actually another choke point that the enemies like to hold, which is right on top of the bridge. Now, as you see, once you get the stupid Ana, get out of my way, Ana! You're interrupting the video! This isn't your video, you'll get a video later. So, you can actually come back here, you see the enemies holding their choke by the bridge, and there's the payload. So, when you actually capture the payload, it, comes around, goes through those doors, turns the corner, goes up the bridge, and the bridge is another choke point where enemies like to hold it down. There's a way to get around it, and not a lot of people do it. So, a few people can make this, quite a few. Like, everybody who has that high jump advantage, like Junkrat and so on, they can all make this. Now, most players would come up this staircase and try to get them from behind, but the problem is, Torbjorn, Sombra, and anybody who has a high defense can stop you. Same thing with here. You might have a Genji who climbs up the wall, but he's going to be greeted by the same defenses. So what you can do is you can come down here, stand on this little balcony. Hello. You stand on this little balcony and then just fly up. And check that out. You're right behind the enemies, allowing you to get some cheap kills and help your team move forward. Now, there's actually some other things you can do here. Let me just do this just for the hell of it. So, there's actually a special flank route that's specifically only Farah can make it, and it's actually in Jang Tower. I saw one of my friends, Power of Aura, do it, and I was wondering, I should make a video about that. That's really, really useful. And then there's another flank route that is in, I'm not too sure. Let me actually check my files and see what map that thing is on. Oh, wait, you can actually come back here, too. So you can go back down and get the attackers by surprise. Okay, so here's the Jang Tower video. Only Farah can make this jump, nobody else. So when you're playing Jang Tower, and you want to pull off a successful flank and you don't have any air support, well, take Farah, not Reaper. Farah. You take Farah, and it's actually really, really simple, and I've never seen anybody do this aside from my friend, Power of Aura. So, most of the time you just come straight through here, and you're either greeted by enemies to your left, or if you try to take the front approach, hello Lucio, I changed the bot to Lucio because Ana would be bad for Farah, but it seems like Lucio is just going to be annoying. So anyway, or you can take the front entrance here, and that's where you just probably get jumped by the McCrees and their Roadhogs and so on. There's actually another way you can approach it without going into the enemy spawn, and that's right out of your spawn. Check this out. Here's your spawn. Pretend the enemies have down the point, you're struggling to capture it, so you just easily take Farah and walk to that health pack right there. Let's call him Jimmy. You walk over to Jimmy and you can easily fly over the map and catch the enemies by surprise. And you can rain justice, use your concussion flash, and poof people off edges. Who knows, but once you pull off this flank, nobody would expect it, and you're free to do whatever you please. And finally, there's one more flank route I would like to show you guys. Okay, so here we are on Dorado. Now, Dorado is really, really interesting as well because there are a lot of flank routes, but nobody really takes them. Let's use this first choke. Most people go on there to try to flank, you know, go away! This isn't your video, Ana. You'll get one in the future. Okay, so you're gonna have the choke point right here. When the payload stops in front of the court building and the enemies are holding it down, most people try to take this back alley right up here, to flank the enemies. But the problem with this is sometimes you have some enemies who are escorting, protecting, guarding, whatever you want to call it, guarding this back area. Maybe it's a Roadhog or a McCree, and they're probably going to give you some damage, if not stop you from pulling off that flank. There is another flank you can do, and it's taking this rooftop. You can actually fly over the rooftop, again, both Pharah and D.Va, and there you are, right behind the enemies, and they wouldn't expect a thing. And there's one more flank route you can take when the payload gets right under this bridge. Now everybody knows this bridge is like the ultimate choke point in Dorado, next to the factory once it goes indoors. But there's actually a way you can get behind the enemies without taking that, well, first jump that I just showed you over that rooftop, and that's actually... No, Anna. No, good girl. Okay, so this choke point. It's a really, really difficult choke point to get by. You can actually flank from that area. Now, obviously, the safest spot is to come through here so the enemies won't see you walk in. So, you come in through here. Grab your health if you need it. No enemy can see you with those trees in the way. Now, this is going to take a little trial and error, especially with D.Va. Again, Pharah can make it really easily. Just fly up, and I missed! But I start sliding down to victory. Okay, so you're going to wait for your jetpack to charge and try again. Let's get a little bit closer. And flight! And there we are, slide down to victory, and voila! Behind enemy lines again. And all these flank routes can be used in multiple ways to get a height advantage or just a flanking advantage from the enemies or to the enemies, whatever. And it'll help you win these games. So if you like this video, punch that like button with a mighty force. You can follow me up on Twitter at DavantosMan. And as always, I'll see all of you in the next video. Have a nice day.